I call a special meeting of the City Council 2010 budget address to order. And I'd really like to welcome Pastor Ron Tottingham from Empire Baptist Temple at Sioux Falls, who will give the invocation. And then please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance immediately following the invocation. So I'd ask everyone to please rise.
Our Heavenly Father, thank you again today for the privilege that we have to be here. I want to thank you for this city and for those that are here that are willing to administer the things of this city with all the voices and things that we have. I pray that you'd give an unction on them and bless them in their private life and also in their public life, that you'd bless this city. Of all the cities around the world, this certainly is listed in the top, so it's somebody's doing something right. And mostly I pray that you would bless the city and continue to give wisdom at the top to guide this city, that it might continue to be a great place to live. Bless things going on today, the budget and all the things here. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you again.
Good afternoon and thank you. Thank you for joining us here today, and I want to welcome to our viewers on CityLink Channel 16 for viewing in on us. And I'd like to take a moment to recognize our City Council. We have Kenny Anderson Jr. with us today, Gerald Beniga, we have Vernon Brown, Pat Costello, Greg Jameson, Dee Knutson, Bob Litz, and Kermit Staggers. Thank you for all your service to our community and for being here today. Preparing a budget in uncertain economic times is a challenge. A year ago, very few people expected economic conditions to change the way they have. And forecasting the future can be very hard. Across the country, cities are finding themselves having to cut services and staff. They don't have the resources to grow or invest in their cities. Many are increasing taxes and fees just to maintain their status quo. I consider us truly fortunate to be facing a different situation in Sioux Falls. Our careful planning, conservative forecasting, and responsible management puts us in a good position to weather today's economy. Recently, Moody's Investors Service awarded Sioux Falls a AA3 rating and wrote that we have a healthy local economy and well-managed city finances. While our revenues have slowed, we are still able to maintain our services and absorb a small amount of growth. Our sales tax is ahead of 2008, and 2008 came ahead of 2007. So in spite of the downturn, we continue to see positive growth. At the same time, that growth is not as strong as it has been historically. So we must adjust our planning in future budgets to take this into account. One of our economic indicators is our building activity. Our most current numbers shows our overall construction value for 2009 is at $146 million. Our total number of new single-family homes is 220. Taken alone, those numbers don't mean as much as when you look at what's going on elsewhere. For example, our construction is outpacing Rapid City, Fargo, Lincoln, and Rochester by significant margins. And we're building more single-family homes than any other major city in our region. Even though we are outperforming many cities, we still have our challenges. While our revenue growth has slowed, our population continues to expand. That brings continued demand for city services in all areas of Sioux Falls. For 2010, I believe our focus should be on maintaining our level of service and growing modestly where we can in our highest priority areas. We are proposing a total 2010 budget of nearly $337 million. This represents an 18% decrease over 2009 due to the completion of several major projects like Lewis and Clark water system and the flood control improvements. Here's how the total budget breaks down. 42% goes to infrastructure and basic services. This includes all the personnel, equipment, and materials it takes for road maintenance and construction, snow removal, water and sewer services, and landfill. 17% goes to public health and safety, mainly the cost to employ hundreds of police and firefighters. 12% goes to culture and recreation. This includes all our parks and our library employees, as well as all construction projects within those departments. 5% of our budget goes to pay back tax-supported debt. What's left is less than 25% of the budget to fund general government, planning, and transit. Also included here are the payments for our pension trust and other internal funds. In this year's budget presentation, we will focus on both the General Operating Fund and the Capital Improvement Fund. Many of our departments use both of these funds, which can be confusing when they're presented separately. Now, you'll be getting a more complete big-picture look at how our departments' budgets come together to fund both daily operating expenses and capital improvements. We will look at our enterprise funds for services like water and sewer separately. First, let's look at our general operating fund. As we said, this fund is estimated to be $123 million for 2010. This represents a 4% increase over 2009. It's noteworthy to look at what comprises the 4% increase. Nearly the entire increase goes to maintain existing services. This fund annual adjustments include our labor contracts. It also provides for rising costs in utility and other inflationary increases. In other words, we are not adding new programs and services in this budget. Here's how we collect our general fund dollars. 41% comes from 1 penny of the sales tax, which is a general fund's largest revenue source. 37% comes from property tax, which is a general fund's second largest revenue source. The remainder comes from things like license, permits, and charges for services. As city leaders, we share the challenge of determining how best to divide our resources among many city services. When you look at the 2010 general fund, I believe you will see our priorities reflected. Remember, these funds support the day-to-day operating costs of most of our city. 46% of our general fund is proposed to go to public health and safety. 18% goes to culture and recreation. 17% goes to highways and streets. And the remainder goes to general government, planning, and transit. Next, let's take a big picture look at the portion of our 2010 capital improvement program that is funded through our second penny sales tax. This penny generates an estimated $48.4 million. This is entirely funded through the second penny sales tax. This fund can only be used for capital improvements, things like road construction projects, park maintenance projects, building construction, and land acquisition. It also funds new equipment like police and fire vehicles. This fund also reflects our priorities of infrastructure and quality of life. Over the next 5 years, 69% goes to fund road construction. 16% goes to maintain and improve our park system. and 15% goes to other improvements like fire stations, libraries, and other city buildings. In Sioux Falls, we've enjoyed relatively steady growth in our sales tax. Historically, it's around 7%. When the country entered the current recession last year, our growth rate dropped to 1.7%. Currently, our sales tax growth is 1.7% for 2009. For purposes of managing the current budget, we are forecasting a 2% total growth in 2009. We are forecasting a 4% growth for 2010. 4% places us solidly between our recession year numbers and a historical growth number. We believe 2010 will be a recovery year, and taking a conservative approach of these two growth rates is a responsible forecast. Our property tax also continues to grow. For forecasting purposes, we have adjusted our projections in 2011 to reflect the slower development rate we're experiencing this year. We are again planning to take the annual inflationary adjustment from 2008 allowable by state law, with the understanding that there will likely be no adjustment available next year because of lack of inflation in 2009. For the last several years, we've been transitioning into a type of budgeting called performance management. We begin by doing a scientific survey of our residents. We were pleased that a strong majority indicated Sioux Falls was a good or excellent place to live. We're also using the survey to focus on maintaining and improving a range of services we offer. This year, we take another step in measuring our performance by talking about our budget in terms of goals and outcomes. Budgets are most meaningful to our city when we can use them to show the services we're providing in exchange for the revenues we collect. This year, our budget summary includes outcome indicators for our departments. This means that instead of simply providing budget numbers, we're showing you what our departments are planning to achieve with the funding they're provided. You'll be able to review both their past performance along with their targeted outcomes for 2009 and 2010. We hope this helps you in your policy making and brings clarity to how our budgets are ultimately put to use. You'll receive all of these outcome indicators with your budget materials. We'll go over some of them today, and others will be addressed during our department budget hearings in August. In 2010, the 2010 budget can be divided into 4 priority lists: public health and safety, infrastructure and basic service, economic development and neighborhood preservation, and quality of life. We'll look at goals and outcomes in each of these areas. One of our most basic responsibilities to our citizens is to help keep them safe. 46% of our general operating budget goes to public health and safety. When you don't feel safe, you want to see a police officer respond as soon as possible. In 2008, it took an average of 8.62 minutes for an officer to respond to a priority call. In 2009, our target is 8.13 minutes, and in 2010, our goal is to bring that response time down to 8 minutes. We should note that of the highest priority calls, those response times can be significantly faster. Our police department is committed to reducing the number of traffic accidents within our city. We know there's a correlation between traffic enforcement and the number of traffic accidents each year. Targeted traffic enforcement measures, including saturation patrols, have proven to be an effective tool. In 2008, the police department averaged 14 traffic-specific enforcement measures per month. In 2009, our target is 15, and our 2010 goal is to increase our enforcement measurements to 17 per month. We are also focusing on investigating high-priority cases like homicides, rape, robbery, and aggravated assault. In 2007, we cleared 61% of these cases. In 2008, it was 64.5%. Our 2009 and 2010 goals is to clear 65% of these cases. Meeting these goals does require additional resources. As you'll remember, our plan is to steadily add police officers each year. Given our current budgetary reality, it is hard to find the means to add any positions citywide. The only new general fund positions we're proposing for 2010 are the 4 new police officers that are part of our continuing staff plan. I am hopeful some or all of these positions will be federally funded through the grant proposed in the economic stimulus package. But we have budgeted to fund them either way. One of our main goals for Sioux Falls Fire Rescue is our response time. To meet our highest professional standard, our goal is to respond to 90% of fires in fewer than 5 minutes and 12 seconds. In 2008, we beat that goal and averaged 4 minutes and 37 seconds. We plan to continue that excellent performance in 2009 and 2010. Another goal is to control the amount of loss to fire in our community. Our goal is to keep fire losses well below average for a community our size. We estimate average loss is $5.7 million. In 2008, our loss in Sioux Falls was $4.8 million. Our goal is to stay below average in 2009 and 2010. Our 5-year capital improvement program includes plans for new fire stations. We have made some adjustments to reflect the type of growth we're now seeing in the city. We are now planning to locate our next fire station in southeast Sioux Falls, starting in 2011. Another station is planned for in 2015 for northwest Sioux Falls. We also plan to purchase land for 2 additional future locations in 2011. Our locations and their construction timing have been somewhat adjusted because of growth in the southeast. The southeast appears faster than in the northwest. The firefighters needed to staff both stations have also been figured into our long-term budget performance. During challenging and economic times, our public health department sees a demand for services. We recently started a school-based clinic at Hawthorne Elementary, and we've made a 300% increase in our outreach visits for homeless health care. We also revised our daycare regulations to increase child care standards. One of our goals is to increase the number of children who receive all their immunization by age 2. In 2009, we expect 65% of children who visit our clinic to have met this standard. In 2010, we plan to increase that to 70% and continue to improve going forward. Our health department also receives many questions and complaints from citizens. Whether it's over an unsanitary hotel or a restaurant, a mosquito problem, or a nuisance violation, we want to respond as fast as we can. In 2009, we expect to respond to 90% of citizens within 48 hours. In 2010, our goal is to improve our response to 95%. We will also continue to address the needs of our homeless population. While we talk a lot about housing, most people don't realize that the city provides health care to the homeless. At times, connecting with its population can be challenging. In 2009, we expect that 90% of homeless people in Sioux Falls will receive health care and medical case management services. In 2010, we plan to increase that to 97%, thanks to an additional grant fund. We know our citizens expect us to maintain quality roads and provide essential services like water and sewer. As we grow, the demand for these services increases. We currently maintain more than 3,600 lane miles of road surface. This is more than the distance between Sioux Falls and Anchorage, Alaska. These roads need to be easy to travel no matter what the weather. And as we have several ways to make sure we're providing the service. One way we measure the quality of our streets is by giving each one a rating called Overall Condition Index. This index measures the condition of street on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best. In 2008, our average street OCI was 7.8. We expect also to achieve a 7.8 in 2009. In 2010, our goal is to increase our rating to an average of 8. One way to keep up with street repairs is to fix potholes as soon as we find out about them. Our goal is to repair potholes within 24 hours of finding them. In 2008, we met this goal 75% of the time. We have also set a target of 75% in 2009. For 2010, we plan to improve to 80%. One of the most significant services we provide is snow removal. Our goal is to clear all streets within 48 hours of issuing a snow alert. In 2008, we beat this goal and averaged 30 hours. In 2009 and 2010, we expect to meet or beat our goal. Public Works also uses enterprise funds to provide services to our citizens. Unlike the general operating fund, these funds do not use sales tax or property tax. They use only revenue collected through water, sewer, and light fees. I'd like to thank the City Council for supporting our long-term plan to adjust rates so that they cover the cost of providing these services. Later this year, we will start using new billing software, and customers of these services will be able to manage their accounts online. Another enterprise fund is our landfill. In 2010, I'm glad to report that we will have no increase in fees for this service. Thanks to your investment in a pipeline between the landfill and Poet, the Chancellor Ethanol Plant will receive the methane and will be able to sell and collect for the landfill. Recently, the City of Sioux Falls was notified we received a national award for use of landfill gas. Running an efficient operation and additional revenue from the state of landfill gas has kept rates stable, and for our customers, it allowed us to be more environmentally friendly at the same time. In 2010, 73% of our second penny sales tax will fund public work projects for a total funding level of $35.5 million. We will direct $6.3 million toward overall street maintenance repairs like concrete panel replacement, crack sealing, microsurfacing, and mill and overlay, which should help us improve nearly 1,100 city blocks. This is in addition to several major reconstruction projects. We will also direct a total of $13 million to develop and expand our street system. This includes both sales and new fees placed on developers. In addition, several major street projects are included in 2010. We will reconstruct River Boulevard from 18th Street to Cliff Avenue. This stretch of road has reached the end of its lifespan and needs to be replaced. We will construct an overpass at Solberg and I-229. This improvement is critical for moving traffic in a developing area of Sioux Falls. It is also the first step toward working with the state of South Dakota to implement a long-range plan to ease congestion in the I-229 and Louise Avenue interchange, which will ultimately include the construction of a new interchange at I-29 and 85th Street. A third major road project involves reconstructing a section of A Street downtown from Main Avenue to the Big Sioux River. This road is in very tough shape and needs to be redone. This will allow us to further improve our downtown streetscape, similar to this year's Phillips Avenue. Earlier this year, we approved a plan to fund a federally funded flood control project and remove 1,600 properties from the floodplain. Next month, the Council will vote on an ordinance to adopt the new floodplain as required by federal law, and many residents and businesses will be required to purchase flood insurance. Our goal is to complete the necessary flood control improvements and remove these properties from the floodplain as fast as possible. Construction of the next phase of our flood control project will get underway this year and continue next year with the reconstruction of the 41st Street Bridge. This will be the largest single construction project in the history of our Public Works Department, and you will hear much more about it in the months ahead. A third budget priority is economic development and neighborhood preservation. It's important to make sure we're not only investing in growing our city, but that also we're using our resources to maintain our existing neighborhoods. We have several ways to measure the services we're providing. One way to gauge our economic development is by comparing our growth to similar cities. In 2008, our building permit value exceeded all of our comparable communities. At $454 million, we are on par with cities like Aurora, Colorado, Lincoln, Nebraska, whose populations greatly exceed our own. Our 1,494 housing units exceeded every comparable city as well. In 2009, we are tracking stronger growth than our comparable cities. And in 2010, our goal is to continue this excellent performance. Neighborhoods can decline when residents don't follow city laws. And when our residents report a potential violation, we know you want to see a timely response from the city. Our goal is to take no more than 3 days after a complaint is received to follow up with a property inspection. We are meeting this goal in 2009 and plan to continue this standard in 2010. When we do find a code violation, we want residents to resolve that complaint without any further need for enforcement. When we have to take legal action, the process can take much longer and the costs more for everyone involved. We believe an achievable goal is to have 65% of cases resolved through voluntary compliance. It is also important to cut down our city's blighted areas, which contribute to neighborhood decline. In 2009 and also in 2010, we hope to acquire and clear 8 properties during each of the 2 years through community development. We also want to improve the condition of housing in Sioux Falls. Our consistent goal is to renovate at least 44 single-family home owner-occupied homes. In 2009, We, along with our partner agencies, also want to construct and sell 15 affordable homes to income-qualified families. In 2010, our goal is to construct and sell 16 homes. It is important to note, however, that our ability to accomplish these particular goals depend on continued federal funding. In order to attract and retain residents, cities also need to offer services that enhance people's quality of life. These should not be considered wants or luxuries. Instead, things like well-maintained parks and libraries are essential to keep people living in a city. If we don't provide these features, other cities will. It's especially important to keep these services free or affordable during economic downturn, and we have been successful in doing just that. Every year, our Parks and Recreation staff creates new and different programs for the community to enjoy. Participation in our recreational programs increases every year, and some are very popular. We want to make sure that we offer programs that people are using and also that we keep them accessible. Last year, out of 164 programs offered, 28 of those programs were filled to capacity. Most of these were youth programs, but our adult leagues also continue to see steady rise in participation as our community attracts a young and active workforce. We use these participation rates along with professional assessments of our recreational needs to help set our programming goals. For 2009 and 2010, our goal is to provide 128 youth programs. We plan to increase our adult programs from 31 to 33. And after recently doubling the number of programs we offer for seniors, we plan to again increase it from 14 to 16. Each year, the Parks and Recreation Department strives to keep our parks maintained at a high level. To achieve this outcome, we plan to continue to inspect every park for litter every day, mow general park areas once a week, and remove graffiti within 24 hours of it being reported. In late 2008, we began offering online registration. As word spread about the online registration option, people began using this technology. Within 4 months of the online registration going live, 39% of program registrations were received online. As we add programs and services online, we estimate that 50% will use this service in 2009. In 2010, our goal is to increase that to 60%. We also continue to maintain and improve our park systems through annual projects. Over the life of our 5-year capital improvement plan, 16% of the program's funds go to parks and recreation. In 2010, our biggest project will be construction of the Mary Jo Wagner Arboretum on the city's east side. This project will be matched with funds raised through the Chamber of Commerce Appeals Campaign. The Arboretum will preserve the history of East Sioux Falls and provide a wonderful opportunity for recreation, outdoor education, and special events. We will also move forward in 2010 with master plan improvements at Great Plains Zoo, development of Stanford Youth Sports Complex, and construction of our downtown river greenway. As our city grows, the demand for library services does too. We currently offer just under 0.6 square feet of library space per person. We want to maintain that level in 2009 and increase it to just under 0.7 square feet in 2010. This year, we have increased the number of hours open each week from 435 to 451, which we will continue to maintain in 2010. When you go to the library, we want you to find materials to borrow. We have begun to measure our title and browsing fill rates to get a better sense of how satisfied our customers are with our selection. In 2009, 69% of customers looking for a specific title actually found it. In 2010, we want to improve to 70%. In 2009, 93% of people browsing the library found something that interested them. In 2010, we plan to increase that to 94%. Finally, we would like to see even more children take advantage of the programs available through the library. Not only do these provide an affordable alternative for parents, but they encourage lifelong reading. And in 2008, we had 43,117 children attend programs. In 2009, we have estimated, again, we'll have about 43,000. In 2010, our goal is to increase that to 45,000 children. Our upcoming library capital improvement projects will help achieve these operating goals. In the spring of 2010, we will open our expanded downtown main library, adding 18,000 square feet of renovated space with no new staff. In 2010, we'll also begin design of our new West Side Branch Library with construction in 2011. We plan to open this branch in 2012 and have factored new staff for it into our long-term budget forecasting. One of the advances we've made in the city budgeting is our long-range planning. By forecasting out 5, even 10 years, we can make sure we are making responsible choices today to avoid extreme consequences years from now. We're also able to adjust our forecast to account for things like our recent economic downturn without major impact to services. In fact, we turned back $5.1 million to the operating budget at the end of 2008. This resulted in a fund balance or reserve fund of $42 million. That level is somewhat higher than we need to maintain. This is fortunate because it puts us in a position to make adjustments at times when using these excess levels is useful. For budgeting purposes, we show a use of $5.3 million in reserves. However, it's important to remember that we also turn back funds at the end of the year. A conservative estimate for turnback is about $2 million. So we expect to actually use just over $3 million in reserves at the end of 2010. This still leaves us, our overall reserve fund, ahead of where it was 2 years ago. You will see during the budget hearings that the next several years will probably also require limited use of reserves, but that our long-term fund remains on track with the levels we set as our goals. We've also taken several other factors into account during the budget planning and forecasting. We've factored in property tax growth below our historical levels because new construction has slowed. We've planned for our short-term interest income to level off as the economy corrects. And we also will be looking at long-term strategies for controlling personnel costs. One way we've kept our health costs down is through promoting wellness. Our goal is to steadily increase the number of employees who participate in these programs. With 1,100 employees, we know a healthier workforce is more productive and saves on health care costs. In 2008, 656 employees participated in wellness programs. In 2009, that number grew to 217. And for 2010, we set a goal of 750. Our departments also continue to find ways to do more with their current resources. Our police department has used a new software program to analyze staffing needs during peak hours. And we've adjusted some officers' schedules so that we are maximizing their time on duty. We also continue to save money on fuel through buying on contract and even adding an electric car to our fleet. It's important that citizens understand how our budget works. I know that it can be complicated, so we want to look at ways to better explain how we can put a budget together. So you can go to www.siouxfalls.org and click on the site called Budget Basics. This site will walk you through step by step through our budget and show you how we balance all of our needs. I hope that you'll agree that this proposed budget reflects the priorities we share. I look forward to communicating even more about our programs the weeks ahead. Thank you for helping Sioux Falls build an even greater city that we live in. Thank you very much.